$1.5 billion. Gone the moment 3 people clicked approve. Mail. On February 21st, 2025, 3 authorized signers at the crypto exchange Bybit each looked at a screen, and each screen told them the same thing: routine transfer, cold wallet to hot wallet. Standard operating procedure, the kind performed safely thousands of times before. They checked it the way you're supposed to. They compared it against their hardware wallets. Everything matched. Everyone signed. What they approved wasn't a transfer at all. It was a single line of code that handed a stranger the keys to the entire vault. 401,347 Ether, the largest theft of any kind in the history of cryptocurrency, gone in the time it takes to click confirm. Nobody hacked the wallet. 3 qualified people looked directly at the transaction and approved it. That's the part of this case that should actually worry you. Mail. 2 things about what happened next will surprise you in opposite directions. Investigators would agree on who did this faster than almost any case this channel has covered, and getting the money back would turn out to be a completely different fight with a very different ending. We'll take both in order. Bybit is one of the largest crypto exchanges in the world. Like most serious exchanges, it didn't trust a single point of failure with its customers' money. The exchange's cold wallet, the offline vault where the bulk of user funds sat, required multiple named, authorized signers to approve any transaction before it could execute. In Bybit's case, at least 3. This is by design good security. A single compromised employee can't move a dollar. An attacker needs multiple people, independently, to make the same mistake at the same time. Within days, blockchain analysts at Elliptic, Chainalysis, TRM Labs, and independent investigator ZachXBT had all independently traced the theft to the same source. The FBI later confirmed it formally. This was North Korea's Lazarus Group, operating under the FBI's designation Traitor, the same state-sponsored unit behind a decade of crypto heists funding the regime's weapons programs. They didn't need to break the multi-sig. They needed the multi-sig's own signers to break it for them. This wasn't Lazarus Group's first attempt at this industry, not by a decade. UN sanctions monitors and multiple governments have linked the unit to a long run of cryptocurrency thefts before this one, with proceeds tracked toward funding North Korea's weapons programs under active international sanctions. Which makes this case something slightly different from most of what you'll see on this channel. It isn't a lone chairman protecting a fortune, or a fraud ring protecting a scheme. It's an arm of a sanctioned state running a heist as a funding operation, with the resources and patience of a government behind it. Here's the setup, at the level investigators actually use to explain it, not a manual, a map. NATO. Weeks before the theft, prosecutors and researchers allege the attackers compromised a developer's machine at Safe, the company whose software Bybit used to manage its multi-sig wallet. Through that access, they altered a piece of the web application's code, but only for Bybit's specific signers. Everyone else using the same software saw nothing unusual. The tampering was invisible unless you were exactly who they were targeting. When Bybit's signers went to approve what they believed was a routine transfer, the interface showed them precisely what they expected to see. But underneath that interface, the actual transaction data being sent to their hardware wallets for signing had been swapped. Instead of a simple transfer, it carried an instruction called a delegatecall, a technical operation that, in plain terms, hands full control of a smart contract over to whatever address you pointed at. They weren't approving a payment, they were approving a change of ownership. Hardware wallets are supposed to be the last line of defense exactly because they show you the raw data, not a friendly summary somebody else designed. The problem, forensic researchers found afterward, is that raw delegate call data isn't something a human can read and understand at a glance. It's a wall of hexadecimal. Even a careful signer, doing everything right, was looking at a string of characters no training prepares you to interpret on sight. There's one more detail that explains why nobody caught it in the moment, and it's the kind of thing that should unsettle anyone who trusts a familiar-looking screen. Some newer hardware wallets can decode certain structured transaction formats into something closer to plain language, a real safeguard, when it works. But that format has no way to describe a nested operation like this one. A delegate call wrapped inside another contract call simply doesn't render as readable text. The wallet shows you exactly what it's able to show you, which in this case wasn't the truth. And it gets worse. Researchers who reviewed Bybit's own transaction history afterward found something uncomfortable. The exchange had executed a legitimate delegate call of a similar shape once before, weeks earlier, for an unrelated, routine reason. A signer glancing at a familiar pattern had no reason to flag it as an anomaly. The attackers didn't just fake a normal transaction. They found the one abnormal thing that already looked normal to the people they were targeting. Once the ownership change went through, the attackers didn't need any more signatures. They controlled the vault outright, and they emptied it. Here's the flaw, and it isn't carelessness. It's worse than that. For detection purposes, it's a flaw built into how humans are asked to trust machines. Multi-sig wallets exist on the promise that more eyes make fraud harder. But more eyes only helps if every set of eyes can actually see what they're approving. In this case, every safeguard functioned exactly as designed. The required number of signatures was collected. The policy was followed to the letter. And it made no difference, because the thing being verified wasn't verifiable by a human being in the first place. This wasn't a broken lock. It was a lock that worked perfectly, on a door nobody could actually see. Security researchers who reviewed the incident afterward converged on the same uncomfortable conclusion. The multi-sig wallet Bybit used was built to do far more than Bybit actually needed. It was a general-purpose tool capable of arbitrary contract calls, when a narrower, purpose-built wallet, limited to simple transfers, would have had no delegate call function for an attacker to hijack in the first place. More capability, in this case, meant more surface. The extra flexibility the platform never used was exactly the flexibility the attackers needed. Attribution here didn't take investigators months. It took days, because Lazarus Group's laundering signature is, by now, one of the most closely studied patterns in the industry. Within hours, the stolen ether started moving. Roughly 86% of it was converted to Bitcoin through decentralized exchanges, trading venues with no central operator to freeze an account or ask a question. From there, the funds scattered across thousands of wallets and hopped between blockchains through cross-chain bridges. Then came no verification instant swap services, the same spraying and funneling logic you've heard on this channel before, just executed at blockchain speed. Bybit itself didn't collapse. Within hours of the theft, its CEO secured a bridge loan and publicly guaranteed the exchange remained solvent even if not $1 came back. And days later, an independent audit confirmed customer funds were fully backed again. That mattered. A run on the exchange would have turned one theft into a second, much wider disaster for everyone who'd done nothing wrong. Investigators, meanwhile, kept walking the chain. Blockchain forensics firms published the wallet clusters publicly, in close to real time, so that exchanges and services worldwide could watch for the stolen funds arriving and freeze them on site. That public tracking effort became its own small industry inside the case. Bybit launched a bounty program, offering a cut of anything recovered to anyone who could help trace or freeze a slice of the stolen funds. Dozens of exchanges and bridge operators, most with no direct relationship to Bybit at all, began blocking addresses the moment analysts flagged them. Not because they were legally required to, because the wallet list was public and nobody wanted to be the exchange that processed a nation-state's laundering run. It didn't stop the laundering. Lazarus Group has done this enough times to have a playbook for exactly this kind of pressure, moving fast, spreading wide, using services with no KYC before the freeze requests can catch up. But it did narrow the runway. Every address publicized shut one more door a few hours earlier than it would have closed on its own. Here's where the file actually stands, and I'm not going to dress it up. Bybit's own numbers say roughly 89% of the stolen funds are still traceable. meaning investigators can point to exactly which wallet holds which piece of it, in public, on a ledger anyone can inspect. Traceable is not the same as recovered. As of early this year, the actual share clawed back sits well under 5%. One genuine milestone. Greek authorities executed their country's first-ever cryptocurrency asset freeze tied directly to this case. A real seizure, a real precedent, and a very small fraction of $1.5 billion. Small precedents matter here precisely because there's so little else to point to. Every country that builds the legal machinery to freeze a stolen crypto wallet for the first time makes the next theft marginally harder to launder cleanly. That's slow progress. It's still progress. The rest sits in wallets investigators can watch, in a country investigators can't reach. That's the honest shape of crypto forensics against a state actor, total visibility and only partial custody. There's no defendant to extradite here, no chairman to arrest. The entity responsible operates under a government already walled off by sanctions that predate this theft by years. So the practical goal was never catch the perpetrator the way it might be on a fraud case. It was contain the damage, document the method, and make sure the next exchange targeted this way has a public case study instead of a blank page. On that measure, and only that measure, this case closed clean. So, what this teaches detection. The cryptography held, the multi-sig policy was followed exactly as written. The actual weak point was smaller and quieter than either of those. The 3-second gap between here is data no human can read, and I trust this enough to click approve. Every security system eventually asks a person to verify something. This one asked them to verify something that wasn't actually visible. Every exchange holding customer funds in a multi-sig wallet today is, whether they've said so publicly or not, rereading their own approval process against this exact case file. That's the actual legacy of one transaction nobody could read, approved by everyone who was supposed to catch it. If this breakdown earned it, hit like and subscribe. There's a new case file every week. Case closed. Follow the money. Mida. Mimunda.